School safety once meant preparing for fires, storms, or accidents, threats that were external, impersonal, and in many ways, predictable. The dangers were forces of nature or rare mishaps, not something that could be anticipated from within the school's own walls. Students practiced fire drills, lining up calmly. Teachers leading the way with rosters in hand. These routines were almost comforting, a shared ritual that reassured everyone that, if the worst happened, there was a plan. Tornado drills meant huddling in hallways, backs to lockers, trusting the building to protect them. The drills were a chance to practice patience and cooperation, to believe that the adults in charge could keep everyone safe. The idea that danger could come from within, from a fellow student, was unthinkable. The school was a place of learning, laughter, and routine, a world apart from the chaos outside. Lockdowns and barricading doors belonged to fiction, not real life. The notion of preparing for violence from inside the school seemed like something out of a distant nightmare. The system focused on discipline and routine, not on identifying deeper crises. Safety was about order, not about understanding the hidden struggles of students. Warning signs, withdrawal, anger, distress were seen as isolated issues, not as symptoms of something more dangerous. Teachers and staff might notice, but rarely did anyone imagine these were signals of a deeper threat. The school was a fortress, but only against the threats it could imagine. Its walls kept out the wind and rain, but not the storms that could brew inside. Then, everything changed. A single, catastrophic event shattered the illusion of safety. The unthinkable became reality, and the world watched in disbelief. Suddenly, fire and tornado drills felt woefully inadequate. The old routines could not protect against this new kind of threat. The real threat had been growing quietly, unnoticed, within the school's own walls. It was not a storm or a fire, but something far more complex and difficult to predict. The world learned that ignoring subtle signals could have consequences far worse than any fire or storm. The cost of missing these signs was suddenly, heartbreakingly clear. The age of innocence ended, replaced by a new era of uncertainty and vigilance. Schools could no longer rely on old routines alone. Schools had to confront the reality that the greatest dangers might be homegrown. Security measures became more visible, and the sense of safety was forever altered. The rituals of preparedness would never be the same. Drills now included scenarios no one wanted to imagine, but everyone had to practice. The foundation of trust was gone. In its place was a new awareness, a vigilance that touched every corner of the school day. A new, more complicated era of school security had begun, one where every precaution mattered, and the meaning of safety was forever changed. Noah Bell wasn't invisible, but he was overlooked. In the crowded halls and noisy classrooms, he faded into the background, his presence barely registering with those around him. Once social, he withdrew, his isolation deepening as his grades plummeted. Friends who once laughed with him now passed by, unsure how to reach out, and teachers saw a student slipping away but didn't know how to intervene. Teachers noticed, but chalked it up to shyness or a phase. They whispered concerns in the staff room, but no one took the next step. His notebooks filled with violent drawings and angry prose, clear cries for help. The pages were a window into his turmoil, but they remained closed to those who could have made a difference. Ms. Albright, his English teacher, reported a disturbing poem, but her concern was just one data point. Her voice, though urgent, was lost in the noise of daily routines and paperwork. The counselor met with Noah briefly, noted possible depression, and recommended outside therapy, no follow-up. The meeting was short, the recommendation routine, and Noah left feeling more alone than before. Online, Noah's anger grew. He posted about school shooters, weapons, and revenge. His digital footprint was littered with red flags, but no one was watching closely enough to see the pattern. A student saw his posts but dismissed them as dark jokes, afraid to report him. Fear of overreacting or being labeled a snitch kept them silent. The system processed paperwork, not people. Forms were filled, boxes checked, but the heart of the problem was never addressed. Each adult saw only a fragment, a troubled writer, a withdrawn teen, a provocative peer. No one saw the whole picture, and the pieces never came together. No one connected the dots. The warning signs were scattered, each one alone not enough to spark action. There was no threat assessment team, no central hub for concerns. The school lacked a system to bring together the voices of worry and warning. Noah's pain and plans were visible but scattered and ignored. The evidence was there, but it was lost in the shuffle of daily life. The warning signs were there, but the system was deaf. The cries for help echoed in empty rooms, unanswered and unheeded. The cries for help went unanswered. Noah's voice, though silent, was everywhere. If only someone had listened. The pieces of the puzzle remained unassembled. Each clue, each warning, was left isolated, never forming a complete picture. Noah's descent was not a secret. It was a missed opportunity. The signs were there for all to see, but no one took responsibility. The tragedy was not just his, but the system's. It was a collective failure, a silence that spoke louder than words. The cost of silence would soon become clear. In the end, it was not just Noah who paid the price, but an entire community left to wonder what might have been if someone had truly listened. Warning signs of school violence were often misread as typical teenage angst. Noah's withdrawal, failing grades, and neglect of hygiene were seen as separate issues, not a crisis. His violent drawings and writings were dismissed as dark creativity. The myth persisted. Those who talk about violence don't act on it. Feelings of persecution and online rants about revenge were ignored because his bullying wasn't obvious. His fascination with weapons and school shooters was brushed off as morbid curiosity. The dots were all there, but no one connected them. The framework to recognize and act on these signs simply didn't exist. The lockdown began with a panicked announcement. Code red, not a drill. The words echoed through the halls, sending a jolt of fear through every classroom. In an instant, the ordinary school day was shattered, replaced by a sense of dread and confusion. Students and teachers froze, unsure what to do. Some clung to their desks, eyes wide, while others looked to their teachers for guidance that wasn't there. Some teachers acted fast, locking doors, barricading entrances, and hiding students in corners. Instinct and adrenaline took over as they tried to create a sense of safety in a situation that felt anything but safe. Others hesitated, confused by the lack of clear protocol. The uncertainty was paralyzing and precious seconds slipped away. One teacher opened the door to check the hallway, exposing his class to danger. The risk was real, but the urge to understand what was happening was overwhelming. Another was trapped outside, unable to protect his students. He pounded on the door, desperate to get in, but the classroom remained locked. Classrooms with glass windows offered little safety. Students crouched, terrified, and exposed. Every sound from the hallway made them flinch, wondering if they'd be next. The response was chaotic, a patchwork of improvisation and uncertainty. Each classroom became its own island, isolated and unsure. Survival depended on which classroom you were in. Some rooms had teachers who had drilled for this moment, others had never practiced at all. Some rooms were secure, others left wide open. The difference was stark, and the consequences were immediate. The sounds of gunshots and screams echoed through the halls. Fear gripped everyone as they realized the threat was real and close. Students texted their parents, fearing it might be their last message. Some whispered goodbyes, others begged for help, their hands shaking as they typed. The lockdown, meant to protect, was improvised and inconsistent. Teachers used whatever they could find, chairs, tables, even backpacks, to try to keep danger out. The lack of standardized drills proved fatal. No one knew exactly what to do, and the confusion only grew as the minutes dragged on. Teachers and students learned in real time how unprepared they were. The reality was harsh, and the sense of vulnerability overwhelming. The chaos revealed the urgent need for clear, practiced protocols. It was a wake-up call for everyone, students, teachers, and administrators alike. Safety was a matter of luck, not planning. The randomness of survival was a haunting lesson. The lesson was brutal and unforgettable. The scars left behind would last a lifetime, shaping how everyone viewed safety and preparedness. The cost of confusion was measured in lives. In the aftermath, the community mourned, vowing never to let such chaos reign again. When the shooting ended, Northwood High was left in shock and grief. The tragedy exposed deep cracks in the school's safety systems. Warning signs had been seen by many, but no one responded effectively. The system had all the pieces, but failed to put them together. The incident became a national case study in systemic failure. The cost of neglect was now painfully clear. A multi-agency task force investigated every detail of the tragedy. They found a paper trail of ignored warnings, concern forms, counselor notes, failing grades. Each document alone seemed minor, but together they told a story of a student in crisis. Interviews revealed a culture of silence and overwhelming caseloads. Teachers were expected to handle problems alone. The counselor was stretched too thin. The investigation concluded the tragedy was preventable. The system was fragmented, passive, and reactive. Real change was now a moral imperative. The investigation's findings spurred sweeping legislative change. Mandatory reporting laws required all staff to report threats immediately. Safe harbor provisions protected those who spoke up. Every district had to form multidisciplinary threat assessment teams. Administrators, counselors, law enforcement. These teams reviewed all concerns, assessed threats, and created intervention plans. Regular staff training on warning signs became law. Funding for mental health resources increased. The new laws redefined school safety as proactive, not just reactive. Schools launched anonymous tip lines, empowering students and community members to report concerns safely. Posters and announcements encouraged everyone. If you see something, say something. Tip lines fed information directly to threat assessment teams. Every tip was reviewed, no matter how small. Staff were trained to recognize and respond to warning signs. The focus shifted from punishment to support. Interventions included counseling and family meetings. The culture of silence was replaced by shared responsibility. Prevention became the new standard for school safety. Today, code red drills are as routine as fire drills. Mandatory reporting and threat assessment teams are the national standard. Anonymous tip lines have prevented countless tragedies. The system now connects the dots, intervening before crisis strikes. The legacy of Northwood is a commitment to vigilance and prevention. The work is ongoing. Training, resources, and culture matter. The safety measures are a promise. We will not forget the lessons learned. The price was high, but the resolve to protect students is stronger than ever.